Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Larry Geller.
That's quite an introduction. That is quite an introduction. But before anything, Henrik, you need some help.
Yeah, I know.
You need some help. Man.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You need some help.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're gonna take care of you, Henrik.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna do your hair.
Yeah, I know.
Wait a minute.
What?
There's nothing there. What am I gonna do?
Where did it go?
I thought I was gonna give this guy a real haircut. There's nothing to work on.
There's nothing to work on?
All right.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you. Okay,
All right.
ladies and gentlemen, Larry Geller. Let me take this from you. Thank you. Oops, I'll take that one.
Well, I'm going to sit and relax, and we're going to have a good time. I know a lot of you know me, and a lot of you don't. And I want you to know that I am a fan of Elvis Presley, just like you are. Believe me, I can remember when Elvis first came on the scene back in 1956. I remember where I was sitting the first time I heard him sing Heartbreak Hotel. He became overnight, as we know, the biggest star in the world. And he still is, and he's going to remain that. So one day in 1957, all my buddies, we had a little group, a little club. We heard that Elvis was coming for a rock concert. We never heard of that before. It didn't exist. And I grew up in Southern California, in Hollywood, and there's an auditorium called the Pan Pacific Auditorium. And it was for the boat show and the auto show and different events. This is where Elvis was going to come. So we went, my buddies and I. We all had tight jeans, we rolled up, we had ducktails, cigarettes, in our sleeve. We went to this auditorium, and all of a sudden, we experienced something we never saw before. Thousands and thousands of kids coming in from all directions. We were so excited. Electricity in the air, you could feel it. And we were so naive, we didn't know about, you have to have a ticket. We were kids. I was 16, 17 years old. And we thought someone would say, hey, come in with us. But it didn't happen. So all of a sudden, everyone goes into the auditorium, and all I knew was I had to see Elvis. I had to see Elvis. So we walked to the side of the building, and we tried to break open a door, and it wouldn't budge. We went to the end of the building, and we did the same thing. It wouldn't budge. Someone wanted to break a window, but we wouldn't do that. So now everyone's in the building. We hear screaming, and we walked to the other side of the building, and I said, look, there he is. There's Elvis. And he was about 20 feet away, standing with a bunch of guys in front of him, about 5 guys. He was wearing a gold jacket. I said, come on, you guys, let's go say hi to Elvis. And when I looked at them, they were petrified. They would move. And I knew that they were not going to go with me. I said, well, I'm going. And I ran up to Elvis. And I still was, at that time, I didn't achieve the height that I have now, so it's much smaller. And I run up to Elvis, and he turns around and he looks at this kid running. I run up to him, and I looked at that face, the hair, the eyes, his lips, and here he was in person. My jaw dropped. And he looked at me, he realized what was happening. He said, "Hi, I'm Elvis Presley." And I said, "Hi, Elvis, I'm Larry Geller. It's so great to meet you." And the minute I said that, one of the guys said, "Elvis, you're on." He went just like that. "You're on. Come on, man. They want you." And Elvis looked at me and said, "Well, you heard what he said. Talk to you some other time." And he walked off into the auditorium. I stood there. Strangers walked up to me. People are shaking my hand. Some girl put her arm around me. I thought, hey, this is cool. This is really cool. Now, a few months later, I graduate high school. I enter college. And one afternoon, my best friend, Christian, said to me, "Larry, what are you going to do with your life? You take 2 classes?" He said, "I'm taking 7. What are you going to do? Why, you're wasting your time. You better think about it." He said, "You know, you're very artistic. Why don't you learn a trade? Why don't you become a hairstylist?" Because we grew up in Hollywood and Beverly Hills and all that. And when I thought about it, it sounded like a good idea. And he said, "Larry, you do that and you never know what doors will open." And when he said that, I said to myself, yeah, that sounds right for some reason. Dropped out of college. The next week I went to cosmetology college, went through the course, got my license, and what seemed almost like an accident, I met some man one afternoon, and his name was Jay Sebring, and he said to me, we got into a conversation, and he told me that he's going to open the very first salon for men's hairstyling in America. In those days, men went to barbershops for a traditional haircut for $1. He said, "We're going to shampoo the hair first, we're going to style the hair, and we're going to charge $10. And I thought, $10? That's crazy. That's like today, you go to a barber, to a stylist, and they'll charge you $1,000. But it seemed right to me, and I gave it a try. We opened our doors, and right off the bat, we attracted the biggest names in Hollywood. Frank Sinatra came to us, then Marlon Brando, Steve McQueen, Rock Hudson, Paul Newman, Warren Beatty, Peter Sellers, Roy Orbison, Glenn Camp. You name the star in motion pictures or television and the recording industry, they all came to us. Even Rod Serling of Twilight Zone. Our clientele read like a Hollywood's who's who. And I became Peter Sellers' hairstylist, Roy Orbison, Glenn Campbell, and all these, and I was a young guy. At that time, when I started, I was 19 years old. Now it's 1964. So I'm at the salon, doing someone's hair. My phone rang. I picked it up, and the voice said to me, "Hi, Larry, I'm sitting here with Elvis Presley." The minute I heard that, he said he wants to know if you would like to come up to his home in Bel Air to fix his hair. I said, yeah, I would love to. Love to. Elvis was, and still is, and always will be, the celebrity of celebrities. I mean, here I am, I'm hanging out with, and I got to be friends with the great Henry Fonda and Robert Wagner and all these very interesting people. But Elvis Presley, Elvis? So he told me to come to the Bel Air gate at a certain time. I said, great, I'll be there. He said, someone will meet you. I packed my bags, I'm running out the door, and the receptionist says, Larry, wait, I got Peter Sellers on the phone. He wants you right now. I said, tell Peter I'll call him later. It didn't matter. It could have been anyone. I drove up, and I walked into Elvis's house. And I'm just looking around, and all of a sudden, Elvis walks up to me with that same beauty, that same inner glow. And he walks up to me with that smile, and he said, hi, I'm Elvis Presley. And all of a sudden, I'm having a flashback. Hi, Elvis. Oh, man. I said, hi, Elvis, I'm Larry Geller. Good to meet you. He said, well, come on, man, let's go in my bathroom. You fix my hair, we'll talk. I said, great. Now, I expected when we walked into his bathroom, there'd be a beautiful, like a salon chair with light bulbs around them, nothing like that. It was a large room, but it was very plain. There's a little basin. He said, come on, we'll do it right here. He put his head in, and I put a towel around him. I put the shampoo. And at the salon, I have someone to do that for me, so I'm being really careful. This is Elvis. I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? And I'm doing his hair, right? And I'm rinsing it, I'm rinsing the shampoo out. And all of a sudden, Elvis picks his head up and starts, and water's going and splattering on me. Now he's drenched, and he says, hey, what the hell, Larry? At least it's clean. Whoa. And at that moment, I knew who he was as a person. There's a lot of celebrities. They want you to know they're celebrities. And they have these egos. Elvis didn't have these ego filters. He let me know that I could have been a car mechanic or a senator. Didn't matter. Elvis treated everyone as a human being. And I realized it in that moment. So it put me at a little bit at ease. I was still, So he said, Larry, I'm making this movie called Roustabout with Barbara Stanwyck. So you got to make sure my hair matches. I said, Elvis, I understand. Believe me, I know what to do. He said, okay, man, I'll leave the driving to you. That's exactly what he said. Sat down. I proceeded to do his hair, and not a word was spoken. And I gave him his space. If he wanted to engage, I was available, but I was doing his hair, and I wanted to do it right. I did it, dried it, got my spray bottle, and I'm looking in the mirror. I said, what do you think, Elvis? He said, oh, beautiful, beautiful, I love it. Who are you, Larry? Just like that. Can you imagine you just met Elvis Presley and he says, who are you? Who are you, Larry Geller? What are you really all about? What are you really into? I'm thinking, what's going on here? What am I doing? I'm an Elvis Presley, and Elvis Presley is asking me this? But I knew what he was saying. I understood. And I knew who was doing his hair before. I hope this is working properly. Yeah. And he told Elvis about me. I said, Elvis, you know what I do for a living. I go to the studio sometime, and I have Sam Cooke comes to me, and Roy Orbison, and Glenn Campbell, and Peter Sellers. Peter Sellers, he said, I love Peter Sellers. I said, yeah, I do, Peter. I do a lot of it, but that's how I make money, and that's what I do for a living. But to tell you the truth, because I know what you're asking me, what's more important to me than making money is my search for truth, for the purpose of living. I mean, Elvis, do we really have souls? Why were we born? What happens to us when we die? And I read spiritual books, religious books, philosophy books. I'm a vegetarian, and I meditate, and I pray. And all of a sudden, I started to get very, very self-conscious. I said, wait a minute. Elvis, I know who you are. You're the biggest star on planet Earth. This probably sounds corny to you. He said, whoa, man, Larry, you have no idea how I need to hear what you have to say. Please, man, keep on talking. I told Elvis about my life and what brought me to discover things about myself. And remember, this is 1964. In those days, people didn't talk about these things. Now, these books are everywhere and talk shows and all that. This was something that most people didn't talk about. And Elvis said to me, Larry, I have questions just like you do, man. Believe me. He said, do you know that I have a twin brother? I said, yeah, Elvis, I know. I have twin sisters, and I know your story. He said, Larry, I was born in the deep South, man, in poverty and pain like you can't believe. Why was I born and not my twin brother, Jesse Garin? I used to think, what would have happened if Jesse was born and not me? Would he be a star? Would you be talking to Jesse Garin right now? What if both of us were born? Would it be the Presley brothers? Would he look like me? Would he have a better voice than me? I don't know. Why me? And he went like this. My memory is really sharp, and especially when it comes to Elvis. Because if you were in Elvis's presence, you would become more alive. That would be the atmosphere. He said, why, Larry? Why was I plucked out of all the millions and millions of lives to be Elvis? There's got to be a reason. I don't believe in coincidences. Well, we got into a conversation that we both opened up and we clicked. And you all know what it's like when you meet someone, if you like them right away, if you wonder about the person, you're not sure, that's one thing. But if you like someone, you just get along. You just bond. Well, we started to bond. He said, Larry, I was born in the deep South, like I've been telling you. And when I was a little kid, I was 3 years old, and I knew then that I wanted to sing. I wanted to be a singer. My mom and dad took me to church, and I wanted to run down that aisle and sing with the choir. I knew then. So Elvis and I started talking about all these various things. He asked me about the books that I read and this and that. And I could speak for another hour on that conversation alone, but we have to move along. So I said, Elvis, and I said, I got to get back. Peter Sellers is waiting for me. He said, I have a better idea. Yeah, go back to your salon, tell Peter Sellers, tell the guys at the salon that you quit and you work for Elvis Presley full time. What do you think? How long do you think it took me to answer him? I didn't have to think. I didn't have to use my brain. Yes. But I knew what he was saying to me. He was saying that if you take on this position, that you're going to become responsible for the likeness, the image of the greatest star that ever lived. In movies, album covers, personal appearances, and the rest. But he was asking me something more importantly. He was asking me to bring him books and talk with him. He said, Larry, I understand the things you're telling me. I have a feel for it, but I don't have anyone to talk to about this. We can do this together, man. You can bring me all these books. We can talk, and it will be great. So he was asking me to be like a friend, a mentor, a hairstylist. It was all wrapped up in one. I was so excited. I got in my car. I went back to the salon to quit. And I was so excited. As I ran into the salon, and my foot hit the lip of the curb, and I fell flat down, and I cracked my arm and fractured it. How's that for timing? I quit. I went home. I told my wife what happened with Elvis and what happened with my arm. It swelled up, and she said, we got to get you to the hospital now. I said, no. They'll put a cast on it. I can't do that. I have to meet Elvis at Paramount Studios at 8 o'clock. I sat in a chair all night, and I prayed. I prayed, and I meditated, and I asked to be healed. Anything. I'm not going to a hospital. The next morning, I get to Paramount Studios. My name's at the gate. I walk in, and about a minute later, Elvis pulls up with all the guys, the entourage, and I'm hurting really bad. And I don't know if I can even hold anything. Elvis sits in a chair. In those days, Elvis was full-blown energy. He said, get me some water and do this, and hey, come here. And I'm trying to do Elvis's hair. And the room started to spin on me. But it worked out. I did his hair. It was great. At the end of the day, we're getting ready to leave. And we walk outside, and there's Elvis's Rolls Royce. And there's my little Volkswagen convertible. And Elvis looks at it, and he said, hey, you ever driven a Rolls Royce? I said, no. Elvis puts his hands and brings off the keys of his car. He said, here, take the car for the night. Take your wife. Go for a drive. You come back tomorrow morning. Bring it. I said, I can't, Elvis. And I didn't. I just couldn't do it, you know. But that was Elvis. That was Elvis. This guy, I worked with Paul Newman, Rock Hudson, Warren Beatty, and the most handsome men in the world. And I'm telling you, Elvis was a notch above the rest. He was an extraordinary looking person. But at the same time, his soul, his mind, his heart was even more beautiful. For me, and I'm sure for Charlie and anyone else, Charlie Stone, anyone else that knew Elvis, that was around him, every atomic, subatomic particle was aligned in perfection in this man. He had the hair, he had the eyes, he had the career, he had the fans, he had the voice, he had everything. And we all know it. And that's why we're here today. I made 11 movies with Elvis. And you know the movies. You know, Ralph's About Girl Happy, Double Trouble, Easy Come, Easy Go, Clam Bake, Paradise Wilding, Frankie and Johnny, Clam Bake, Spin Out. You know them better than I do, I think. Because a lot of you people know a lot of Elvis facts, which is wonderful. So every morning we get to the studio at 8 o'clock sharp. And Elvis was full-blown professional, never late. Stayed till the end of the day, never pulled that star crap, or came in late because of a hangover, but Elvis never drank, by the way. Never drank, no matter what you heard. At any rate, I do his hair at 8 o'clock, and after I did his hair, makeup. And it was phenomenal making these movies. It was such a joy. And now they're history. So we're talking about the king of rock and roll, but more. Who sold more records and albums than anyone who ever lived or any group? Elvis. And at the same time, he was a movie star. Not just a movie star, but the highest paid actor in Hollywood. And his movies, even though they weren't dramatic movies, they were light comedies, grossed more money than any other movies churned out by Hollywood in the 60s. It's extraordinary. The phenomenon of phenomenons, Elvis Presley. And I remember it was during the time when the Beatles came on the scene. And they wanted to meet Elvis, of course. Elvis. And they tried a couple of times, and they got in touch with Colonel Parker through their manager, Brian Epstein, and a meeting wasn't set up until finally, in August of 1965, a meeting was arranged at Elvis's home in Perugia Way in Bel Air. It was a Friday, August night. And the word was leaked out, of course. And there were thousands, I don't know how many people. It was wild. People were in trees. There were police and security everywhere, and the media, and it was something else. I'm with Elvis in his bathroom. You're talking to someone who's been in a bathroom more than anyone you've ever met. Because every day for years, Elvis and I, if we weren't at the studio, we were in his bathroom, whether Graceland or in Bel Air. So this is far out. We're in Elvis's bathroom. The Beatles are going to come over soon. All the guys are there, a couple girls. And Elvis and I, every day for years, would be alone for a minimum of an hour, sometimes even longer, and talk about movies, about girls, current events, politics, and always ending up talking about philosophical, spiritual type things, the meaning of life. That's just the way our brains functioned. But that night, Elvis was stone quiet. He was pensive, he was withdrawn, and I saw that far away look in his eyes, and he was going like this. And I'm doing his hair, and he said, I know that